So you just mentioned about After Effects
Yeah.
and shooting videos or editing at least. I know you do shoot some videos for other people. Um, do you like doing that, like making music videos for other people and editing and things like that?
Um, as an artist, it's really fun to step out of my own stuff and like my own self expression and kind of work for other people. But it
Right.
kind of goes back to my roots because I actually, funny enough, started producing beats and stuff so I could have like background music for my videos or videos I made for other
Oh,
people.
really?
And then I just got
That's
super
awesome.
into it. I think not to like not to compare myself to Kanye or whatever, but I'm sure
Yeah, yeah.
people know that he um was making video games when he was a kid, like a very rudimentary coding system on his computer,
Right.
and there was a little audio program for making the music, and he just loved making the music, so he took off with that. But for
That's
me,
cool.
it was uh always like ever since I had a VHS camera that I couldn't even get the clips off of or export
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and then I got an iPod, so there's like iMovie on that, so I'd make little like videos of the skate park, and then
Yeah.
I learned a bunch of iMovie, started learning After Effects and Premiere in high school, and then I wanted to like have the right soundtrack or whatever, so I figured I would learn how to make music. So I got Machine, which is like a pad, like a finger drumming thing with the software,
Yeah.
and I used
Yeah.
that for quite a long time. But yeah, I stopped taking the course with the After Effects and all that, and I just continued on my own with the music. And then when my friends will like say they want a music video, or honestly, I kind of just pick and choose. Like I don't do much client work as is. I'm trying to get more into that and make that kind of
Yeah.
my main thing in terms of
Yeah.
income. But
Yeah.
if I find a song that my friends made that like I really like the perfect example is "Badly," um, by Rye and Nawali.
Yeah.
That's just an amazing song. And when they played me the demo, I'm like, this needs a music video. Like, we're gonna shoot it like this week. So we linked up later in the
Yeah.
week. I just had the VHS camera. We played the song a million times, just recorded a bunch of performance shots all over.
Yeah.
And I edited together, and people love that video, people love that song. And it was just a
Yeah.
moment. Like I got pictures on my phone and albums and stuff showing me how that summer went, but I think as the years go by and I lose, phones and files, I'm sure the Badly video will stay up, and that's kind of
Yeah.
my memory for that summer. And then plus
Yeah.
it's a win-win because I got some stuff from my portfolio. They
Yeah. That's true.
they got a nice video that
Yeah.
no one else could have done in the same way. Because when you pay someone to
Right.
do a video, um, it's a different dynamic because they're kind of working for you, but if you're just doing it on some friendship, like kindness of your heart type stuff, then
Yeah.
you can experiment. And my best shoots have been just me and a friend like playing around in the woods, just
Yeah.
recording videos all day. So
Yeah. I
I
mean, that's
definitely
kind
like
of
it.
that's the best kind of video is just goofing around with someone that you know
Yeah,
instead of trying to keep it stiff and.
yeah, it's super fun. I love videos. I like storytelling through that. I want to get more into it. I just yesterday bought like a really nice Sony camera
I saw
for
that. I saw that.
yeah, I'm so into. I mean, I was into photography around the same time in high school with everything else. Actually, earlier, probably grade 9 and all that. I had
Yeah.
like a photography shoot business. I was doing shoots for people, so I kind of know the terminology and the theory around photos.
Right.
But
Yep.
I just kind of got sick of having to link up with my friend that has a good camera, or
Yeah.
rent
Yeah.
something when I'm trying to do something planned out. So now I just have
Right.
an HD, nice, Sony camera to play around with. And whether
Yeah.
that's telling my friend to hold it and then I just do a little music video, or if I'm doing
Yeah.
shoots for other people, now I actually have something because I was playing around with it, shooting my friend Chantel, and we got some really nice shots. And I'm like, damn, like I could have charged you for this. I mean, my best friend, so
Yeah.
probably, but like these are good enough to where I could have charged you because
Oh yeah.
I've been working off of I just have an old iPhone, which is surprisingly well, it's like an SE, It was basically like
Right.
a 5. And
Yeah.
for my music, a lot of my cover art was shot on that. Just like I like
Yeah.
heat of the moment stuff, like Beagle and Ride with Me.
Yeah.
Was shot both on just my phone and edited later, and it turned
That's
out
cool.
well. And then I've just been working off VHS cameras for videos, so I've been pretty
Right.
low quality,
Yeah.
kind of as a
I mean,
necessity.
it's a style.
It is a style. I've made it work for me, and all the Cujo visuals are on VHS. And I even if I had an HD camera, I would probably still shoot on VHS because of the vibes. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's super fun. I love video, and I like helping other
Yeah.
people out because you got to get out of your own head sometimes. Like it's kind of an echo chamber in some
Yeah.
sense when you're always talking about the same stuff or doing the same things for your own brand per se.
Yeah.
But helping someone else towards their goal, it's just good when it's friends, and then also it's a good way to get to know someone because I am best friends with Edibomb now, and the Badly video is the first time we really like hung out and did something together,
Right.
and that was sick. I'll never forget that day.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
What VHS camera do you mainly use?
So I've had it's funny. I've had at one point 4 cameras at the same time, 4 VHS cameras that were in different operational order.
Yeah.
It's usually some sort of Carl Z's Handycam from Sony.
Okay. Yeah.
I had one that was pretty good, lasted me a long time. I shot a lot on it, but something happened with my hard drive to where I lost some footage, so that's pretty sad.
That sucks.
But I'd take it as like a sign from the universe that I didn't do
Right.
anything with the footage in the right amount of time, because I was always saying, "Oh, I'll make a documentary about the Edmonton music scene, blah blah blah," and then
Yeah.
my hard drive was just like, "No, you're not," you know. So
Yep.
yeah, I was heartbroken, but I got over it because it was like, hey, like I can always record more stuff. Like
Right.
there was freestyles and performance videos and just funny moments that were captured on there that you know, I won't get back, but I always played them for friends like on some home movie shit to where
Yep.
I've seen them so many times, like it's more than just a memory that I've experienced one time. I've watched the footage a bunch and I can remember those times. And yeah, you know, I just see it as like, hey, I should have gotten my shit together and started editing that documentary sooner,
Yeah.
because then I would have had multiple saves of those videos and that wouldn't have happened. But yeah, that
exactly.
one broke. I lent out my camera to my friend Yam to record skate clips, and but he didn't have a charger. I only had one charger for both cameras. So he would have to come to my house to convert the clips and charge it. And then after a while, he stopped coming around. And before I moved to Toronto, I like asked for it back because, you know, he wasn't using it. And surprisingly enough, it still worked. Like they didn't break it yet, which I was surprised. And then I used that in Toronto, and then actually for all the Cujo stuff, all the music videos that I'm going to be releasing soon. That was shot with that one. I swear there was like a different one that doesn't work. I've got 2 high 8 ones, which are like older models, but I have no cords to convert them. So I did buy something off Amazon, but it didn't work. But I'm not that, you know, obsessed with it. Like it is cooler. It's like a 80s, like one, not 80s, but like, I don't know. I don't even know when it would have been.
Yeah.
It's older than the stuff that you see now. And then also I have a 1080p one, which is crazy to me. I didn't even know that existed, but I have a like I'm looking at it right now. I don't have the proper cords for that one either, but I am looking into getting a port for my PC that can convert the FireWire. But it's another Sony Carl Z's, but it has detachable lenses. It shoots 1080. It's got night vision.
Really?
It's super nice. So
wow.
I'm kind of into the Sony camera that I just bought right now and doing all that that digital stuff. But for a secondary camera for the VHS, there's definitely that. But then as I was looking for the cords for that camera, I also found something in my closet that's a digital Handycam. It's another Carl Z's, but it's digital. It shoots
Okay.
internal memory in the camera, and
Yeah.
it's on the cusp. I like that. You know, I think culture's always taking from the past, and you know, I think earlier in this decade we were taking a lot from the 80s and the 90s, but now you start to see a lot of nostalgia for like late 90s and early 2000s type stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love watching How I Met Your Mother and stuff like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, like flip phones and like, you know, like it's you're in the 2000s, it's like 2005, 2006, like there's a lot of nostalgia for that now. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the shift to digital, where the digital was not perfect and it still has that certain vibe, is
Oh
really
yeah.
nice. So the digital like the digital camcorder that I got, it still has the power zoom, still has the night vision, and that might be the temporary replacement for the VHS cam as of
Mm.
right now. But yeah, I'm at the point where I worked on a lot of music for the past year straight, just obsessed with it. Dropped a lot of projects, and now I'm dropping Cujo later this month. And every time I drop something kind of big or that took a lot of work, I like to just kind of take a break and recollect myself. And right now, I'm kind of focused on video and editing
Mm.
and photos and stuff for the time
Yeah.
being while this album release cycle is happening. And then I don't know if I get inspired, like, yeah, I'm always making tracks like almost every day,
Right.
but um, it takes a certain type of mental energy to be like, hey, this is the project, this is the debut album,
Mm.
this is what
Yeah.
the song titles are going to be. This, and at the same time, I was focused on music videos too, so
Right.
it was kind of demanding, and it, I don't know, it didn't exhaust me. Honestly, it was it was a fun experience, and I'm just glad that it's coming out. But
Yeah.
after something drops like that, you know, there's always a little bit of time. Like you got to make people wait for it. I honestly have two other finished albums I could drop right after, but I'm going to save it for I don't know, whenever I decide to, probably later in the
Right.
summer.
Right.
But for now, while I'm waiting for the album to drop and the music videos to drop, I'm just going to be doing client work and
Right.
editing and all that sort of stuff.
How long have you been? How long have you been working on this album?
Funny enough, it's just been during the quarantine. Like
Really?
it's not
Okay,
like
that's not bad.
it's not branded as a quarantine album, but
Right.
I have a few projects in the works, some of which I'm taking a long time with and going back when I learn new stuff and taking a fresh look at some of these songs.
Right.
But Cujo is this kind of idea, this feeling that I had that I wanted to drop at this point in the discography, because that's really important to me, like the storyline, the chronological order of the albums dropping was really important to me,
Right.
because the other stuff I'm working on is pretty upbeat and happy. But so
Yeah.
far in the music that I've released, it's gotten pretty somber and dark. So
Yeah.
I wanted things to get worse before they get better, type thing, with
Yeah.
the lyrical content and the sonics of it. So I said, hey, yo, I have a missing link here. I want like a darker album. And I was also thinking a lot about visuals. I wanted like Blair Witch Project, like low
Oh,
budget
really?
horror
That's cool.
film type visuals. So there's some creepy stuff going on in the music videos, but overall it's just a vibe. It's just yeah, like Blair Witch stuff. Or, and I mean, Cujo's it's named after the Stephen King novel about the dog, the rabid dog. I am surprised
Okay.
not. I thought more people knew about that. I thought that was a common thing in pop culture, but I keep talking about Cujo and they're like, "Oh, that's a cool name. How'd you come up with that?" I'm like, "Bro,
Yeah.
this is a Stephen King novel." But
Yep.
yeah, it's just the ideas of it is kind of just because sometimes in my life I just view myself as kind of too soft sometimes, you know, like a
Mm.
kind of like I get compared to like a puppy dog, and
Mm.
but then there's been times where I've been wronged or betrayed or something where I can kind of get angry, I can kind of get jaded, and there's an evil side as well, and I think it's important to explore both. So Cujo,
Yeah, for
if
sure.
anything, I keep marketing it as like the scariest, like most horrible horrorcore album ever, but it's really just the Drewsiko version of like a dark album,
Right.
which honestly isn't even that dark. Like
Right.
I guess almost every song has the explicit marker just because I swear like once or twice, but at
Mm.
the end of the day, bro, my biggest fans of my music are my parents and my grandparents, and
That's awesome.
I don't like to censor myself because of that, but it's also like,
Right.
yeah, I'm not gonna do stuff for like shock value. And
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
I don't go into like the full like Tyler the Creator Bastard Goblin era, but I'm definitely
Oh yeah. Yeah.
inspired by that. You know, a lot of these songs were like, how can I make a Earl Sweatshirt, I don't like shit, I don't go outside type song. Like it kind of feels
Yeah.
like that. So it was really fun to do. I have some songs you could mosh to. I have some songs you could fucking burn a house down to.
Yeah.
Not saying you should, but I don't know if you want to.
Not
It's-
condoning it, but you know, hey.
it's, you know, that's the soundtrack. You know, like
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then also I like the contrast. So I wanted a lot of like ignorant, angsty, spiteful emotions, but at the end,
Right.
I feel like the album resolves in a very transparent. What am I trying to say here? Exposed. What is this other word I'm looking for? Uh, like, you know, you just feel exposed. You feel transparent. Come on, what am I thinking? I keep
I
forgetting.
know what
this.
you mean, but I can't.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
just
think of the word
very
either.
it's just very open and honest, and I think
Yep.
it almost feels more genuine
Mm.
after all that, because
Right.
there's like uh like verses in the album where I'm like conversing with myself and my own thoughts, and it's like, you know,
Mm.
I'm gonna still be petty, I'm gonna still be jaded, like I don't care, like nothing matters, and then it'll switch to a song that's just like a pure representation of how I felt in some of those moments. And I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
after listening to me wild out and be like a angsty teenager for a long time, you get to see that real sadness, and it hits a bit different. And that's why I think
Yeah.
albums are really important, because there's always a reason why one song follows the other, or the track title's called this, or
Right.
the time in which the album was released. Like there's a reason that
Mm.
these songs aren't just like 10 different singles. They got to be played after each other for the full story, right?
Right. That's true.
Man, I'm always choking on my water every time I drink water. I just can't. That's a fun fact about me, man.
It's all good. I do that so much too. I'm like, I'm just gonna take a giant gulp of air. Oh, I choked on my own air too. Like,
Yeah, it's something about water where it doesn't even feel like it's anything in your mouth, and then you just drink too much of it.
I'm gonna breathe now too while I'm drinking.
Yeah, might as well breathe. Never with any other drink, but just water.
I know
all
exactly.
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when did exactly you start making music and like trying to release it? Because I know you said you were making music on kind of the side as you were doing photography and stuff. And
Yeah,
video work.
it was more so just like I think a year before I was in that video editing class, I
Okay.
just for fun, I got like the machine program and the pad and all that.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I'm always the type of person where I just want to be tinkering away at something, like a mad scientist type thing.
Yeah.
I was never one to play like video games. Like I like Skate 3 and I like
Right.
playing with friends and stuff every once in a while,
Right.
but I'm always like discovering stuff, whether it's drawing or photography. Around that time it would have been, but I was super into music and just how it was made, how it was created, and sampling, resampling stuff. And I just figured like I could be sitting there at my desk. I just had this image of me like learning stuff, like pressing these pads and trying to figure out the right combination of like what would be a good sound. And
Right.
I never even hit record throughout that whole entire year. I would just load up drum kits and fun little sounds. I think maybe I made something off my phone out of a bunch of samples from the Channel Orange album that I put on SoundCloud. So that I think that would be technically like from 5 years ago. I think it is now.
Okay.
And it's funny because that has like a ton of plays on SoundCloud just because it's been out for 5 years. and people
Right.
have
Yeah.
randomly heard it. I think that's hilarious.
Right.
But yeah, around the time of like making my little videos for my class or little stuff for YouTube, I would be like, okay, I want a Tyler the Creator song, but I just want the beat, so I'm gonna recreate the beat and then like
Oh, that's cool.
just go for that. And then I'm not gonna get copywritten. Like I'm gonna say that like, yeah, I recreated the beat. And I know it wouldn't be exactly like I recreated the beat for
Right.
Redbone and Oldie for my
Mm.
little video about going to LA and stuff. So that's when
Yeah.
it was forcing me to like, okay, you got to hit record, you got to make a full song, you got to make multiple
Right.
elements, you got to multi-track. And it just taught me a lot, but it was almost like a means to an end. It was like, okay, this
Mm.
is I want to make the music as good as it needs to be background music for my songs. And then
Right.
I kind of got really into it. Like when you discover something new and you get somewhat proficient at it, you get a working knowledge. It's almost just
Mm.
like another tool to like express yourself. So
Mm.
I was sitting around one day and I realized that Earl Sweatshirt made like my favorite album by him, like the Earl tape. I don't know if that's my
Yeah.
favorite album by him. I guess that's just a tape, but it's a time in my life, and I don't know, I'd skate around, I'd listen to that. It's angsty, it's
Mm.
disgusting, but it's like it's a raw emotion. And I realized like he made that when he was 16, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And I mean, he made like Slide Tendencies and all his previous stuff like when he was even younger than that. But like he made the Earl tape when he was 16, and I'm like, hey, I'm 16, you know.
Yeah.
I should just start making beats, because if I start the process now, like I start releasing stuff and failing and trial and error, like by the time I get older, like I could be pretty proficient in this craft. So I
Oh
gave
yeah.
myself, just as a challenge, just to make it fun, I gave myself 16 days to make like a tape. Like I knew I wouldn't be rapping, I wouldn't be like singing or whatever, but just like, you know, beats and instrumentals, like elevator music is what people call it, like my friends and shit. Um, and I
Yeah.
made this project called 1/6, and
Yeah.
it's funny because I listen to it now, and of course, there's a million things I would change. The mixing,
Right.
everything's way too loud, everything's blown out.
Mm.
There's no effects on anything, everything's dry. But it's like the energy. Like I was playing, I only knew like one scale and like a few piano chords, and
Right.
a little bit of how to use the drums in my software. And I
Mm.
still somehow made like songs with multiple sections. I think there's 8 songs on there, and
Yeah.
it's just I can feel I don't know if other people can hear it, but I can just feel how much fun I'm having making it,
Yeah.
because it was
Yep.
it was every day after school. I mean, 16 days. It doesn't seem a lot to me now, because if we totaled up how long I've been working on Cujo, it might only be 16 days, because it was like on and off.
Yep.
But when you're trying to learn the program at the same time,
Mm.
16 days
Yep.
is wild. And I think I even
Yeah.
updated. I think I even had like a crazy update for my software. So I went to like version 2 of Machine while I was doing that,
Wow.
which
Wow.
so I or like halfway through it or something. So I was just
Mm.
it was just practice. It was studying like every day after school, or the weekends. I would just like skate home and just start working on tracks, and that was really motivating. Like people think people are always talking about, especially with the quarantine that we're going through now, people are saying like, I know my potential and I know I can do such amazing stuff, but I'm never like motivated with it. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
you're never motivated to write that essay, but like it's due
Yeah.
tomorrow, so of course you're gonna stay up all night and
Exactly.
do it. um
Yeah.
I find myself staying up all night making music anyways, even if there's no album or no deadline. But when there is, especially like that's crunch time. Like I think there's a story about, or you can hear in the Brockhampton documentary, but they made the post to their fans saying like, I think it was Saturation 1 or Saturation 2, that like this is the date it comes out, and I swear they had nothing ready for it yet, you know,
Yeah.
which seems like a hazardous thing to do, but also why not? Like
Yeah.
if it helps you make stuff, like I'd rather be under a deadline and somewhat kind of rush my stuff. Like I mean that's
Yeah.
kind of disgusting to do, like rushing the art,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like I would rather that than having no deadline and no goal and not ever putting anything out, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then at the same time, I think there's there's a lot of things you could do for yourself, to where if it helps you put stuff out, you should do it. Because maybe you shouldn't put everything ever that you ever make out, because then it could kind of ruin your brand, I guess people say. But I have a
Yeah.
lot of tips of like things people could do specifically for music, because I've been going through it,
Mm.
to what they could do to like make it easier for them to release stuff. And
Yeah.
when the biggest one for me recently has been just the fact that like I appreciate people that listen to my stuff, and there's a few people who DM me and they say like, yo, like, bro, this is my favorite shit, like I love it so much, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much. But at the same time, when I look at the numbers and the stats, compared to where I want to be or I could be one day, this is nothing. Like it almost feels like
Yeah.
nobody at all is listening to the music.
Oh, yeah.
And that's scary, that's disappointing, but it's also so freeing, because it's like,
Yeah.
I look at artists nowadays, bands, like it's harder for them to do this. I think singular artists, they can do it kind of better, but people are always trying to find the right way to switch up their sound entirely without
Yeah.
disappointing their fans or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that me, with no one listening to my shit, like I could make an album that sounds completely different than anything else that I've ever made.
Yeah.
And it's really just my mom and my grandparents and my friends and a couple people online that are listening to this shit.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be excited that I experimented with something. And I think
Yeah.
people that do that from the jump, like Tyler and Kanye, Pharrell, all those sort of people I look up to, they're never scared to switch up a style or do something different or experiment. So their fans are always open to that. But these pop stars like Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, I can't even like remember how many times they dropped a new album, got a new haircut, got a new makeup thing, and they're like, now I'm raw, or like now I'm sexy this time around.
I've changed. I've changed.
I'm wearing black clothes.
Yeah.
I'm wearing leather this time. And it's like, it seems very
changes
forced.
The music.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's corny, but I don't know. I can't really think of an example off top to where people switched up and the fans didn't really like it. But kind of maybe like, I think Testing by A$AP should have gotten way more recognition, because the fact that he took some time off and learned how to like produce for himself so he could make these sounds that he really wanted to do. Because I mean, he's admitted he kind of shot himself with the foot, for like Wild for the Night and some of his earlier stuff, to where it wasn't like necessarily trendy. He was more so being a trendsetter, but it was very poppy stuff that he could perform, and it wasn't ever his true self. And I think collaborating with Kanye and Frank and Tyler, like I think he's really learned how to do stuff for himself and not care what other people think. Because even though Testing, I feel like it deserved more credit, he still made that Sundress song, which everyone still bumps. It comes on in the club, and everyone loves to dance to that. And it's got an A$AP verse, but it's like, just as a producer, I notice like the shift in the BPM, the just the feeling of it it's you would never think the same dude that made Wild for the Night made that. But somehow with Testing, he showed people, and even calling it Testing, like even doing the crash test dummy aesthetic with it, is just like showing people like, this is what this is. And for a first attempt to pave his own way in his own style, I think it was a beautiful album. Like you got Purity and Tony Tone, and like almost every song on there has something I like about it that's like, damn, I'm glad he made that decision. He wasn't scared to do that on this.
That's
so
cool. I mean, the first step in that direction is always the hardest. I mean, like especially what you were just saying now is like not having. I mean, what like your Spotify is? I think it says like 500 listeners per month, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Like it shifts. Like last month it was 1,000, and I don't know why. Like I didn't even drop anything. I don't know why it went up to 1,000. But yeah, like 500, 600 is what we're sitting at, and there's plans to go up through collaborations after this album drops. I'm hoping, doing podcasts like this, even though I just love fucking talking and I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts more than music, believe it or not.
Same.
Like just before I go to bed, type stuff. And I like having conversations with new people. So
Yeah.
it seems like even if no one listens to any of the podcasts I do, like just the conversation I have with the host,
Yeah.
is fun for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
with the podcast, the fact that people might listen to it, might check it out, that should
Right.
help me grow a little bit. Um,
Oh yeah.
and then collaborations I have in the works, with people that are like much higher up in me in terms of, stats.
Right.
That should
Yeah.
help me out too. But the thing is, like, I'm glad I got 2 albums that are finished, like in the hard drive, to where
Mm.
if more fans come along, I could show them
You can just
even.
drop one.
Yeah, I could show. But it's important. It's not just the fact that I have it ready. It's like the fact that I made that when no one was listening to my shit. So
Right.
if something happens and Cujo pops off or one of these songs goes on a playlist and
Right.
a
Yeah.
bunch of people flood through, I feel already that I would have that sort of pressure to be like, oh, they liked this one song off Cujo. I should make
I gotta
stuff.
make more.
Yeah, which I'm honestly like, the whole Cujo album was like my last attempt to make like dark, weird stuff. I'm gonna make some like nocturnal trap stuff with my friend Edabon, but like, uh, yeah, that was a specific vibe, and that was a chapter. Like that was definitely a chapter in a book, and that's not like the true me. And if you listen to my whole discography and what's gonna come out next, you'll realize like what importance that chapter plays. But if a song off
Yeah.
there blows up and people are expecting me to make more stuff like that, I'm sure I could, but a lot of people think that it's a surface level thing. Like if people like your song, they like the exact lyrics that you said, the exact chords that you played, the exact feeling that it gave them. But sometimes it's as simple as they just liked you being genuinely you. And
Yep.
if I release something that's completely different sonically, which I think the next albums definitely are, it's still me, and you can the production choices, the lyrics, the tone, and just the feeling. It translates, and I feel like if I drop that, it'll just show my diversity more than scaring off the new fans or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm ready for that.
That's cool. I mean, like what I was saying a little bit ago, just because of the size that you're at right now, I guess it should definitely give you the freedom to experiment in whatever, genre or whatever you want to do, whether that's, music videos, music. But also like you were saying, having 2 albums on the backbone, being like, oh, you like that? Oh, here's another one.
Yeah.
And I had that ready. And I'm not like, oh, fine, I gotta, make another one, I guess. So,
Yeah, I always want to be ahead of the curve in that regard. Like,
yeah,
I don't want any of the decisions to be influenced by like other people's perception of it, like
yeah,
I think I let a little bit of that in, sometimes too much, but sometimes just the right amount, like the fact that I have 500 monthly listeners and not 0, I think has improved the music, because when I was
yeah.
making stuff like 1.6 and 1.7, like the beat tapes, I knew for facts, like I could count on my hand like how many people were actually going to save this to their library
Yeah.
and maybe listen to it once or twice, because they're all my
Yeah.
friends,
Right.
but now there's people I don't even know, or don't even know my Instagram, don't even know me, and they found
Yeah.
me on Spotify, and I can see the stats. Like there's people in like every country that are like
Yeah.
just randomly listening to my stuff. I'm like, I don't know anyone in Iceland. I don't know anyone in Argentina. How are they listening to my
Yeah.
music? Because they don't know
Yeah.
they don't know who I am. So I think that's it changed my perception of it, and it's like, okay, yo, I gotta really show who I really am, despite like not seeing them in person or having a conversation with them or them following my Instagram.
Right.
Because I think at the core, the music or any music is just a way to be understood. It's a self-expression thing. Like personally, like yeah, people say like, oh, I would make this even if nobody heard it, but it's
Right.
an attempt to be understood. And yeah, I always say that like sometimes the verses or the monologues or the things I talk about in my songs is almost a truer version of me than I even talk to my friends about, type stuff.
Right.
And
Yep.
the fact that like, yeah, I drop something and 500 people are going to listen to it, it makes me have some second thoughts about what I'm saying, not in a censorship regard, but in
Yep.
like a refining, like, okay, let's make this as best as it can be. Because music, honestly,
Right.
is kind of forever. You know, you put it out, and if
Yeah.
that's in someone's memory, and they can keep, streaming that song or go back to it and listen to it, um, it's a soundtrack for somebody's memory of a certain time that they heard it, and I want
Yeah.
that to be the most fleshed out, perfect version that it could be. But when you get held up with perfection, sometimes it gets you to the point where you don't ever drop stuff or ever release stuff, and that's my big thing. Um,
Yeah.
like when I start to feel too perfectionist, I have like a whole nother account that no one knows about that I
Mm.
work on music under and like drop stuff like secretly that nobody listens to, like for real nobody. Like each song has like 5 streams, but
Yeah.
it's very loose and non-perfectionist and just raw, and it's really really fun to make, and
Yeah.
it's not attached to my name, so um
Mm.
I use that as like an extra thing. And I've noticed a lot of my friends kind of do that same thing too. Like there's a lot of people you wouldn't expect that have like a spam account for music, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Because if regular people
Yeah.
have spam accounts, then why wouldn't there be an artist equivalent type thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. I absolutely bet that mainstream artists have, whether or not, I mean, no, they've gotta have like, smaller accounts that they just publish stuff on and just leave.
Yeah.
And
Or
if people listen to it, they
even just
listen to
stuff
it,
for
but
the
they
hard
just don't
drive.
claim it.
Like they're
Yep.
just making stuff that they don't release. Whether it's putting a different name on it. Like there's the Mac Miller, Larry Fisherman stuff.
Mm.
There's like I guess Earl technically produces under this name, A Random Black Guy, which is funny to me. There's I guess there's Madlib and Quasimodo, like he's rapping under the Quasimodo name, but he always pretends that he doesn't know who that is. Like he pretends like
Right.
that's his friend, but everyone knows.
Right.
I guess there's
Right.
the Flying Lotus Captain Murphy, which is the same sort of situation, but
Yep.
there's a lot of creativity that could be expressed through that, and it was like a last minute decision, but with the Cujo album, I saw Cujo as like a character, sort of in the same way like Tyler release albums like Goblin, Cherry Bomb, Igor. Like Igor's definitely like a different side of Tyler, and Cujo is like maybe the evil side of me. And one of the last songs I finished was this one called Cujo FM, about like kind of scrolling through the radio, and just it's a chill kind of interlude, but you actually hear
Yep.
like this pitched down character that's identifying himself as Cujo, but it's it's me, it's me playing
Yeah.
all these parts. And then
Yeah.
I figured when I was releasing the album, I was like, okay, yo, maybe that song is featuring Cujo, like the actual character. So in the
Yeah.
future, if I want to release any songs like this, which I do, for every song that there is on Cujo, there's like 4 or 5 in the hard drive that like didn't
Yeah.
make it to the album because it didn't fit the album. Maybe there's still good songs, but
Right.
it just didn't fit. And if
Right.
if I feel angsty, if I feel angry again, I can still make a pitch down rap song where I'm talking about,
Yep.
stuff I don't want my parents to hear, and I could release that
Yeah.
under the Cujo name, and it would make
Yep.
sense. And I think that's really nice for fan engagement, or not even fan
Yeah.
engagement. What am I trying to say? Like Easter eggs, like fan service. Like,
Oh yeah.
hey, yo, like I love Cujo, and yo, wait, he releases music too. Jeez, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then there's like a secret album or a bonus track
Yeah.
on that profile. I don't know what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do with it, but just having that
Yeah.
that lane open is
Yeah.
just another tool to express myself, which I would never want to close the door on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's also stuff like, for example, with like my photography stuff, I have like, my Instagram is kind of a portfolio. So if people see it, they see like polished. So in a way, it's the same thing there. It's like, well, I can only post certain things here, and the rest of the stuff that like I still like this image or still like this video, I can't post it there. I have to post it somewhere else, and sometimes that sucks, but other times it's like, nah, like this I think is just fitting because this is in the end is my work and I want to show it off. Whether or not it fits that, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
And then sometimes it has to go to the second page that no one knows about. So
Yeah, like it's a fun pursuit. I've always been obsessed with the idea of like consistency and like having a creative through line in certain things, because my favorite Instagrams or like artists, like you can always kind of tell that that's their work, whether it's production or
Yeah.
rapping or just the visuals. They have like a
Yeah.
certain color palette, or they have a certain way they do lines or shoot photos or do videos where it's
Yeah.
them. And it seems counterintuitive because artists don't like rules, but to get that level of consistency and professional looking, through line, you need
Yeah.
to create rules for yourself that you strictly follow, or maybe you bend in a
Yeah.
creative way, but you follow those rules. And it seems, like not a good thing to put rules on yourself, but at the end of the day, you're putting them on yourself. Like nobody's asking you to. So if you want to shoot
Yeah.
all your stuff in like, lower saturation, or like black and white, or have that moody feel to your photography, um, and then maybe you want to have a vibrant, like colorful shot, you could put it somewhere else. You can make a whole separate account that you put as just as much effort into. But at the end of the day, it's your decision, and the only
Yeah.
thing that anybody else could say to tell you to not do that is like, hey, is this going to burn you out? Is this going to tire you out? And if it doesn't,
Yeah.
then hey, you got two lanes going on at the same time. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, it's super super fun, because even the music I post on the other account, like that could blow up too. Like,
Yeah. That's true.
it doesn't take any effort. It's actually blowing off steam is what that is. So it's doing the opposite of
Yeah.
burning me out. And that is also a chance to like change the world with music, or score someone's life, like I was saying. So I just appreciate that I came up with that idea sooner than later, because
Yeah.
now I can say that music's been out for a few years. And yeah, I notice other friends and people doing it, and I think that's great. It's a lot about just finding what works for you, like sooner than later. You don't want to like you could try a bunch of stuff and figure out like what works, and figure it out that way, like trial and error. But you
Yeah.
gotta know yourself, and you gotta like imagine like, okay, what's my perfect scenario? What's the realistic version of my perfect scenario? And then just kind of live in that vein, and then before you know it, you're kind of living your best life.
Yeah.
Because I get bogged down by like perception. Like I get sad that the stats aren't like that big sometimes, or whatever, or not making like real money off the music yet. But then
Yeah.
I go, hey, no one's listening to this, so I could really just do me completely. Like the person that listens to the music the most, not in any conceited way, not like I'm playing my own songs on Spotify, but like I'm making the songs. I hear it a million times as I'm
Oh,
making it
exactly.
before it comes out. So it just feels
Yeah.
like making a song that like I'm bending my creative process so it could be like a song that I know a lot of people would listen to and share.
Mm.
It just seems torturous to me, because I wouldn't have to listen to a song that I don't really like all that much, way more than even the biggest fan would ever play it. Even if they
Yeah.
play it like 200 times, I'm like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I had to write the lyrics. Like I had to do this and
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, in the end, it is your own work, and if you don't like your own work, then you kind of failed in that regard.
yeah, I mean, there's
It's
there's a
just
time and place. Like, if you're making stuff for other people, it just seems like you're kind of that's kind of your job. That's not like your. How do I explain this? I don't know. It just feels like there's a difference between an artist and like just someone that you could pay them to like make you a song.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And they both exist in the same world, and they're like they can coexist. And sometimes I'm
Yeah,
doing that. Sometimes it's a hybrid. But like, um, I feel like the term artist, it's very blown out and well respected, and conceited to call yourself that. But
yeah,
when I say that, it feels like an artist is some kid that grew up that couldn't, even if he tried, couldn't really fit into the mold, like couldn't fully understand, like, okay, let me color in between the lines. And they could get in a lot of trouble for that. And I see a lot of people around me that don't even make music or photography, do anything, where I can just tell, I'm like, yeah, this is not for you, like the typical life that everyone wants to set out for you is not you, and you have a creative,
Yeah.
problem solving, critical thinking mind. And some people who have that mind, they go into the field of creative endeavors, painting, all that sort of stuff, whatever it is. And I like to open that up to, like, I think an accountant is pretty creative too. Like, it's
Yeah.
a
Oh, for sure.
boring, it's math, it's high frequency stuff, but it's like that's still problem solving. I see
Oh yeah.
creativity to me when I say that word, it's just like overhyped problem solving, or
Exactly.
critical thinking, right? So there's people that get to express themselves and they get to work out that muscle every day, and there's some people that don't, or they hold themselves back from doing that, and it eats away at them. Like, we all know that. So I think you should um do stuff just for yourself, like paint on your own walls, paint on your own carpet, make silly songs for yourself or for your friends. Because when I tell people to do that, like, hey, yeah, you should paint, they're like, oh, who's gonna want to see that? I'm like, hey, bro,
No, exactly.
yeah, like, who cares about other people? If you get to the level where you're bringing joy to other people with your art, like you paint something, you give it to your mom, and she's happy with it. That means more to me than getting paid for like a song or a feature or whatever. Because
Yeah.
that's actually impacting someone's life. And then people love to see, like, I know there's a lot of hate in the world, there's lots of controversy, but at the end of the day, when I'm in my most pure form of myself and I really believe in humanity, I think people just love to watch other people be themselves. I
Yeah.
think I think of it with, like, actors and what sets apart, like, Tom Cruise from, like, Tom Hanks, like
Right.
like a funnier person versus action person, or Jim Carrey. Like, if the world is just wanting something simple that they can consume, there should be no reason that Jim Carrey is an actor, or Wes Anderson is a director, or all these people that kind of
Right.
bent the mold. They're living, breathing proof that you can kind of just do you. And I think Tyler the
Yeah.
Creator, like, I always come back, like, that's my biggest inspiration. I used to get
Yeah.
embarrassed for wearing that influence on my sleeve so much, because I was literally wearing just golf wang stuff all the time, and that's
Mm.
cool. I mean, I love even the newer golf wang stuff, but yeah, now I'm not aesthetically or sonically drawing too much from Tyler, but just the career path and um the philosophy of it all, because he doesn't even preach it. He doesn't even say, like, oh, everyone should do this, everyone should do that. But it's like,
Yeah.
he just
He's just
says,
being
like,
himself.
yeah, he's like, why wouldn't I, like, make this song that makes me feel like I was 5 years old again? Like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, who's telling, like, no
Right.
one, honestly, he found a lane where he gets paid and he gets, like, everything he wants in life out of being exactly who he is. And
Yeah.
unless someone comes through and pays him double that to make something that he doesn't fuck with, then there's no reason at all for him to stop being himself. So
Exactly.
that's why I'm starting this journey, like, now, with no real money coming in, or no fans or shows or sold out shows or merch or anything. I'm just
Yeah.
starting with being myself, because I know it's much harder to transition later in your career for that, like with
Oh
ASAP,
yeah.
with Kanye. Every album Kanye does some stuff that upsets all his fans, upsets the entire world. um Drake too, between the singing stuff and the rapping stuff. Like, I think
Yeah.
Views is a great album, but the fact that he dropped it after If You're Reading This Is Too Late made everybody hate it. If Views came out
Yeah.
today, um I think it would be a banger. If Views came out right after If You're Reading This, or Nothing Was the Same, then it would have been a banger as well. So it's the
Yeah.
context and it's the public's perception. But the
Yeah.
biggest asset I have on my side right now is the fact that there's no public perception of my shit.
Exactly.
There's little
Yeah.
pockets of kids all over that kind of know me. Like, there's my LA friends, there's the New York friends, there's people in my city, there's my family, that they have a perception of me. They know me, they know what I've been doing, they know what I'm up to, they know what I'm trying to do. But
Yeah.
the overarching general sense of, like, oh, this is what this kid stands for, it's not cultivated yet. So that means that I'm the one that gets to decide what that story is, and that's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's always best, I think, to just start off being yourself, because I mean, you see so many people starting off with such, like, I'll just use the YouTube example. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of people doing this character and this and that, and then they talk about getting burnt out on this character, and it's like, well, you're starting out. It's nothing wrong with having a character. You don't have to show yourself, but when you're trying to switch into showing yourself more,
Mm-hmm.
what if people don't like the real you?
Yeah.
Now you have this character that they like, but they don't even like the real you. So you have to like be willing to put out the same amount of real you as a character, or just commit to either side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle for sure. It's hard to be yourself with everything, especially when
Yeah.
you're putting it out there.
Yeah, it's very because like you got to be transparent with it. You gotta there's some hard to swallow pills because you could think that you're doing yourself, but maybe you're actually playing a character that it's just the best version of yourself. And
Right.
I, it's not like I get crazy like self-deprecating in songs, but I like to paint the full picture, because this is a
Yeah.
platform. At the end of the day, no matter how big the platform is, whether or not I like it, it's like it is a soapbox, and there's things that have happened in my life that I'm drawing inspiration from, and storylines and things that happen to me where I get to tell the story of how they went down and how I feel about them. Um,
Mm.
but if I leave out the fact that like, oh yeah, I wasn't that great in that situation either, or I'm kind of, here's my character flaws. If I leave that out, then it's just it's just propaganda, that's just
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not going to take anything away. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is like the typical braggadocious rapper. But I think they're like playing a character too, but they're also
Mm.
they're providing a service. Nobody wants
Yeah.
to work out to a song of someone being like, I'm the worst,
Yeah.
like, maybe they do. And
Yeah, that's very true.
there is emotional songs like that, but sometimes there's a time and place for like, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Just the entire
Yeah.
song is just bragging, like,
Yeah.
and that's great. And I'm glad that music has progressed to the point where other people can exist in that space. But I think yeah, just going back to Drake, I think a lot of people neglect the fact that he's a very multi-dimensional character in his music, because he will
Yeah.
talk about his own flaws, he will talk about this, and then when he's bragging, is more it's more potent because you've seen him at his worst where he doesn't believe in those things that he's saying about himself,
Yeah.
and when a song comes around where he does, and then also it's not fictionalized, like it's no cap, like
Yeah.
it's real
Yeah.
stuff. Like when he says that he's surpassing his idols, and he's got nobody left to kind of look up to, or help him in this journey, because nobody's ever gone through what he's gone through in terms of fame and success. I mean, yeah, people could always say, oh yeah, poor you're super rich, blah blah blah, but it's like,
Yeah.
buddy, like you can't, unless you get super rich one day, you're never going to
Yeah.
be able to experience what that feels like. People
Oh, yeah.
constantly looking at you, having their hands out to you, looking up to you, because people like to talk all day about Kanye and Drake, and how like they're egomaniacs or whatever. But
Yeah.
imagine if you, every time you went out anywhere, or if anytime you went to a party, not only does everyone already know who you are and have an opinion of you, for better or
Yeah.
for worse, but they're
Yeah.
also like, that night that they, just because they saw you, is something that they're going to tell their friends and remember for the rest of their lives. So you always
Yeah.
have an intense spotlight on you, and there's a lot of pressures involved. I look up to the career path of like Gambino and Frank, to where they've kind of shied out of the spotlight, and
Yeah.
every time they do drop something, or come out and perform, it's very potent, and it means a lot. But that they're making different type of music, and they're making different types of moves in this world, because yeah, if Drake disappeared or did something, I mean, like, yeah, they would stir up a lot of controversy. It might even be worse for his career than better, if he took a
Right.
social media break and you didn't see a new music or a song or anything, you didn't even see him out in public for a year, people would be like, oh,
Yeah.
he's a drug addict now, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people like to search for a story, and when you become a headline, it's hard for you to stop being a headline, you know? And even if
Yeah,
you fall off,
exactly.
the headline starts to be, oh, whatever happened to so and so.
Yeah.
So your only choice is to like be yourself through all of it and burn bright. Because if you fade away, sometimes your legacy gets tainted. Like, you know, Nas, amazing rapper, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say greatest rapper of all time, but he's still out here making stuff. If he would have
Yeah.
died early, like Biggie and Tupac, heck, even X
Yeah.
and Juice, like
Yeah.
people are like, yo, that's a legend. And
Yeah, exactly.
it's hard for people to say someone's a legend while they're still alive. I think about that a lot. You know, like
Yeah.
Drake, Tyler, Kanye. Like, what is gonna happen to the world when these people pass on? And what will happen
Yeah.
to all the haters and all the people that didn't really understand their impact? Because once they're gone, man, like you never get them back, and you'll regret all the things that you said about them. So, I like to look at these times fondly. Like, even if I hear God's Plan or Hotline Bling a million times in a day on the radio, I'm like, hey, I get to tell my kids I was alive when this random
Yeah.
light skinned Jewish kid from Canada was the biggest artist in the entire world, and he
Yep.
stayed on the charts for 500, almost 600 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I don't know, it just when you get to view stuff as an underdog story, you get to
Yeah.
have more fun with it, and that's a philosophy
Yeah.
that I live with. You know, like every time I see something that everybody likes, like that's super trendy, and I just happen to not like it, I kind of see that as an issue with me. You know, I don't like to
Yeah.
say, oh yeah, everyone likes it, it's popular, it's trendy, you know, it probably sucks. I'm like, no, there's a reason everyone's vibing with this one Doja Cat song or whatever it is at the time,
Yeah.
and I look at myself and I'd be like, hey, I'd be having more fun in life if I could just dance to that and not be thinking and
Right.
not be at like in the corner of the room like, oh, this song sucks, it's too overhyped, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what
And I mean,
started.
at a certain point, you have to, in a way, separate the art from the artist and be
Yeah,
like, look, this guy, whether or not I personally liked his specific character,
yeah,
he's making this art, which I can appreciate.
yeah. And
So I don't
a lot
necessarily
of
need
people
to
appreciate
love
it.
this guy,
Yeah,
but I can like his music.
yeah. No one says you have to be like a 1000% stand for like anyone that you
Oh
just
yeah.
passively listen to, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was back in like I don't know 2015, 2016 when I was a kid like listening to Tyler and stuff, and then this SoundCloud rap started coming on. Like I hated like Lil Uzi Vert and Lil Yachty and stuff, but then
Yeah.
I realized like, hey, there's a time and place for that, and no, everybody's not trying to listen to Oldie or Colossus in the club. Like, you know,
Yeah.
there's a time for I don't really care if you cry. Like there's a time for that, you
Yeah.
know? Because I've
Exactly.
been like I was at the parties and I watch how people react to that and I watch how fun it is. And if I was in my head being like, "Oh, this beat is so simple and it just loops and then, you know, the lyrical content's not all." And then they're mumbling too. Like, are you having any are you having fun? Like is it more fun
Yeah.
to be right and cool and
Mm.
a gatekeeper than it would to be just like dancing with a shorty like at a house party
Yeah.
like which one's more
Yeah.
fun, you know? Like you
Yeah.
get to internally be like I'm better than everyone, I know more about music, versus just like hey man, let loose, you don't have to think about everything, just have fun with
Yeah.
it.
Can
And
just enjoy it.
I'm transitioning into like appreciating pop music for what it is because I'm getting into like Benny Blanco and realizing that he made like that whole 2010 sound like Dynamite by Teo Cruz and Diamonds by Rihanna and I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, like that weird electronic sound that was taking over pop music for the better parts of the 2010s was all Benny
Yeah.
Blanco. And when I see him as a character, as a person, he seems like a really down to earth, really chill guy that knows how to
Yeah.
make moments happen and make songs that make people feel something. Whether it's dancing, whether it's you know TikTok by Kesha, he did that one too. Um,
Yeah.
I appreciate what it is, and I feel like even Tyler with Igor, he said that he was trying to get more into like pop music, not you know annoying radio hits that you hear a million times that are like obviously label plants and have a ton of money pumped
Yeah.
into them, but like pop music. pop music stands for popular music. Music that
Yep.
everyone can relate to, everyone can like. And honestly, in 30, 40 years, I don't know who's going to be playing, certain like, mumble rap tracks, but
Yep.
they'll definitely be playing Earthquake. They'll definitely be playing Redbone. They'll definitely be playing some cuts off Views,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I don't even know what we were talking about, but that's
Hey, I
that's
mean,
what
it's
I
good.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What did I guess, I mean, it's getting over an hour now.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of wrap it up. I'm not in a rush or anything like that.
All right.
But I was kind of wondering, like, because of this the process of even getting like a podcast like this, being small, getting it onto any platform, how did you get around to putting your music out on platforms?
It was just a process of like the reasoning behind it was just I wanted anyone who wanted it to get it. Like I'm not gonna ask my grandma to download SoundCloud just because that's where the music's at. And I just wanted it accessible. And then there's a certain level of professionalism where it's like, hey, my music's on the same place where you could listen to, Jay-Z or Otis Redding or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
The process, I started off with just researching a bit and seeing what would be the best option for me. I don't think DistroKid was really popping around the time I started releasing music, so I think I was on CD Baby, which is a flat fee per album. So I'd pay like $50 or maybe 20 when it was on sale, to release a album. And then now I use a combination of things. If I'm really trying to get a song out fast, I'll use DistroKid, and that's only 20 a month, 20 a year, and then you can get it out like 30, 40. I don't know about podcasts. I haven't done that research. I know there's things like Podbean, and my friend was just talking about Anchor. We recorded her podcast on that right into the app actually, which was cool. But yeah, I think getting it on. I mean, Spotify's coming up in the game of podcasts as far as I can tell. I use Apple Podcasts to listen to my stuff, so there's that. But yeah, just setting up an RSS feed and getting it on Apple and Spotify. Hopefully both of them. I'm sure I think there's a different process for Spotify, but if you go through the right aggregator, you can get it on both, and it's nice. It's nice because it's right there next to everybody's music. They just updated it recently in the past year to where your podcast and your music are very separate things and very separate sides of the apps. So I mean, Apple Podcasts is free, and if you have an Apple device, like you have it on your phone. So I like to put stuff on there. Like I used to have a podcast and I had it up on there. But now if I was to record my own interviews with people or record my own little shows, I would definitely think that Spotify above anything just for future proofing it. But I'm sure it's a small fee. I think it's $5 or $10 a month on like Podbean or whatever it would be. I don't know about Anchor's fees, but it seems very user friendly. I think it might even be cheaper.
So far, Anchor has been completely free, and to my knowledge, everything that I've posted so far is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a couple other websites.
Yeah.
So far, it's completely free. So I don't know if that changes as you get bigger or what, but
yeah, I'm sure there's like custom things that you might want to do with a different RSS feed, like as you grow and like building a site or building a a page or something for the podcast would be nice. But I see it as an amazing tool to grow an audience and build a community. I love the concept of it. I've been listening to podcasts since I was 12 years old. Like every like dead ass, like before I went to bed, just listening to a bunch of adults fuck around and talk about some stuff, or an interview with a scientist, or an interview with a musician or something. And I think it's really helped me kind of mature faster in terms of getting my ideas out and being fluent with talking about things. Because people always meet me and they're like, wait, you're only 19? Like, you're only 19? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm only 19. I'm just,
Yeah.
I've lived a lot of life and listened to a lot of different conversations in those
Yeah.
19 years. But like, yeah, podcasts are great. And when I was doing mine, that was the biggest growth I've ever seen because I would reach out to someone, be like, hey, I like your art. I want to know about your process. And now all of the people that listen to the podcast, they go and check out that artist. And all the
Yeah.
people that know of that artist that want to hear more of them, that don't know about the podcast, they come through, listen to that episode, possibly be a fan. So it's just like almost, it's the only source of content where like every single thing you do, if this is your format, like the interview, is like a cross promotion thing. You know, you get
Yeah.
people from all sorts of audiences, and that's why you can grow so fast. But the biggest thing is just consistency. Like nobody's gonna listen to a podcast that's once a month or
Yeah.
not maybe once a month is fine, but once every 6 months. That's like, hey
Yeah.
man,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey guys, just tuning in. Didn't make anything in a long time. Just been busy with life
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
before I do stuff, because I'm thinking of making an Instagram page or somewhat of not like a record label, but like a production company, that could possibly be a podcast attached to that.
Yeah.
I just want to create a workflow and a systematic, consistent way to do content to where when I
Yeah.
launch it, it doesn't even it never stops until it becomes, you know, maybe more profitable to stop, or if I have someone that can take over it, because I started a
Yeah.
magazine, I started a podcast alongside it, but my mistake was like running merch, running an Instagram, running a YouTube and a podcast all at once, going from
Yeah.
0 to 100, and then I got burnt out because you know, graduated high school, life stuff got in the way, moving out, and I just didn't have the energy as a one-man team to create
Yeah.
a whole magazine for the benefit
Yeah.
of artists and other people. But I think it's great. I think everyone should have a podcast. There can never be too many, you know?
That's true. That's
Oversaturation
very
should
true.
never be, because like, man, like the same ideology that's saying like, oh, there's already a million podcasts, like why would I make one? It's almost like, yeah, then why do you ever even talk out loud? You know, like
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Like everyone's said everything already. Why do I even speak? You know, like it's the same mentality. So in this process of trying to somewhat promote for Cujo, which sounds gross to me, but you know what's more gross? Posting every single day on my own Instagram story and doing
Yeah.
Instagram ads. Oh, guys, listen to Cujo. I want to
Yeah.
somewhat pop into someone else's, you know, reach or engagement or fan base and say, hey guys, yeah, fuck, if you like me, listen to Cujo shit. And then that
Yeah.
way I'm not bogging down my entire fan base that's already with me and already gonna stream the album, just saying, hey,
Yeah.
can you help me promote, blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing a
Yeah.
string of podcasts where I
Yeah.
talk about my process and the album a bit, and hopefully reach out to a few people. But, you know, if not that, I had a 1 hour conversation with you, and you know,
Yeah.
so now we're friends. And
And never talked before, and we just talked for an hour. So there you
I
go.
think we've been following each other for a minute, or I
Yeah.
think I just recognize your username a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I peeped your photography. I didn't know you were in Edmonton as well.
Yeah.
But because I follow a lot of people from like all over. But yeah, we should link sometime.
Do you know do you know the origin
The origin of
of
like,
why
the
I
name?
followed you?
No, what's that?
So without just try to keep, you know, without doxing anyone, but you know, Caitlin.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I was friends with her,
Uh-huh.
and I gave her that BMX.
Oh my God. See, I'm an idiot, bro. Yeah. Okay, you know what
I don't-
happened?
you know.
I lived on 118th, and I kept my bike in the house, or that bike in the house all the time. But sometime my girlfriend borrowed it and she left it like in the backyard, and someone hopped my fence and stole that shit.
Oh man.
You know, but you know what sucks is that 2 days after I even got it from you, I rode it all the way
Yeah.
down to White and went to a studio, left it outside the studio, and no one stole it. But like, I swear, like the tire was popped. Like it wasn't popped before, and now it was
Oh
popped.
really?
So the tire
Oh,
was already
man.
popped. I went to go get it fixed, but they told me I need to fix a lot of other stuff, not just the tire. And I said, oh, okay, maybe
Okay.
I'll do it later. And then I left it in the backyard, and then someone hopped the fence and stole it. But I don't understand how they stole like a bike that was like pretty messed up. Like
Oh man,
the tube and the whole frame or something was up with it. But
that
yeah,
sucks.
but that was one of my favorite memories, man. Grabbing that stuff from you and then going. I listened to Igor and I just biked downtown. Like one of the last days that it was like super nice out.
That's sick.
Last summer.
That's
So,
sick.
it was
Yeah, I
great.
mean,
And
if you get another bike or anything like that, I used to do bicycle repair. So
oh, word,
I mean,
yeah.
I can try to do that for you if you ever need that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna have to get one. I mean, I love biking around. I think that's just the best way for me to like listen to music, whether it's
Yeah.
not like a dark vibe or like a sunny vibe. Like you can just go in different times of the day and just bike around the town here. But
Yeah.
I borrow my little brother's BMX bike, low key. He's in that stage where he's little, but he's got like a bike that he can grow into. So it's like
Yeah.
a bike that's not even that small for me. And then
Yeah.
yeah, like I bike around.
It is a
there.
BMX, so they're kind of small anyways, to be fair.
Yeah, they're small, and I have like a mountain bike where the gears are kind of stuck and the chain's rusted that I
Yeah.
could use to bike around properly, but I just like the steez of like just cruising
Yeah.
on a BMX. You don't go all that fast if you're really clipping because there's no gears, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was great. And yeah, I knew I remembered your username somehow, and that's why. But I'm an idiot with
Yeah.
names, right? I gotta like
Nah,
have
it's
a
all good.
conversation
It's all
with
good.
someone or.
I'm not like I don't expect. First of all, I'm terrible with names. I don't expect anyone to remember anything.
Word.
And I'm not like, oh, remember this thing? I don't like doing that kind of thing. I gave the bike. I didn't charge for it. I don't care.
Yeah, it was
It
sick.
sucks that it got taken away, but
Yeah, damn, like man, I kept it in my house. Not even for that reason specifically. I didn't think anyone would like come into like low key like my shed and like
yeah,
but anyways, it was 118th and it was sketchy times.
yeah, that's fair.
But it was like it was broken. Like like what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
that's too bad.
But yeah, so yeah, man, I wish you luck on this podcast journey.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, my only tip is just be mad consistent, like even if your
I gotta
audience is
try.
small, you can there'll be someone that listens to like every episode, whether it's your
That's true.
fucking mom or your girlfriend or
Yeah.
something. And then,
Yeah.
they like when it becomes a real thing, like, hey, because people look at numbers a lot, I feel like people
Yeah.
look at how many followers you have or how many monthly listeners you have on Spotify before they decide to even give you a shot. But at the same
Yeah,
time,
that's fair.
people look at certain other peripheral things to see if you as a person are into it and you're consistent with it. So having a
Yeah.
giant backlog of podcasts, even if they all have like three views, a bunch
Yeah.
of different like interviews with different people, and once you get like 20 or 30 of those, like you just look like a legit podcast. And then
Yeah.
along the way, all of those people, I mean, like when this drops, I'm gonna tell everyone, hey, like this is, go listen to this,
Yeah.
and a few people from my camp are gonna come through and possibly stick around, possibly listen to other ones, but that's only
Yeah.
if you have other ones out
Right.
and you're consistently releasing, because
Yeah.
you want people to subscribe, but you got to give people something to subscribe to, you got to give them,
Absolutely.
and that's the biggest thing, because I think there's this mentality in our culture, cultivated by parents and stuff, where it's like, oh, like 1 in a million chance that this will happen, or 1 in a million chance
Right.
like you'll pop off. But it's like, yeah, but that million number also
Mhm.
counts all the people that gave up,
Exactly.
So if I don't give up, then that number gets smaller and smaller, and then
Exactly.
they're making it seem like it's a lottery, but as a
Yeah.
content producer, you're almost printing your own lottery tickets. So
Yeah.
if you give up and stop printing your own lottery tickets, yeah, of course you're not going to make it. You're not going to win the lottery. But if you're
Yeah.
consistent, you have this analogy is falling apart, but if you make good quality tickets,
No, I
you
get
make-
what you're saying.
if you make great
Yeah.
quality tickets that people want to look at and view,
Yeah.
then you are
Yeah.
definitely going to go somewhere. Whether that's, who's the scope of that, who knows? I think at a certain point, it becomes how much work you put in is how much work you put out. The beginning is very tough because you could put in so much work, but as long as no one's seeing it, it might not happen. But what's nice about it is there's an exponential curve, because once
Yeah.
2 people show it to their friends, then you got 4. And once 4 people show it to your friends, you got 8. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's an exponential equation, and shit just pops
Yeah.
off. And then, hey,
Yeah. There's go on with your thing, Windsor.
you could live anywhere. You could do anything. As long as you have a mic and a phone and a computer or wherever,
Yeah.
you could go live in Vancouver, go live in Toronto, whichever one everyone wants to do in our city.
Yeah.
You could go live and you could get sponsors. You could have an actual source of income just off your voice, your insights, and your consistency and your willingness to not give up. So,
Yeah.
I think it's sick. Every time someone tells me they have a podcast, first I want to be on it. Like, I want to talk about shit. I want to people to know about this album coming out. But I'm just like, fuck yeah, like, you should have a podcast. Why wouldn't you? It's free. I think they've got it to a point. Yeah, Anchor, free. As long as you have a phone, like, you're blessed.
Literally.
And there can never be too much content because, there's a lot of podcasts. But what are you going to do? Listen to current events talk from 2015? Like, no. Like, I subscribe to probably 30 or 40 podcasts, like, for a long time, like, not just like I'm revamping it. I'm gonna get some more like independent people in there, but just like the Joe Rogans, the fucking Rooster Teeth. That's what I was listening to when I was 12. Like, all sorts of just long running podcasts that everyone knows about, but they only post once a week maybe. And sometimes if you have a long commute there and back, and you listen to them while you eat or before you go to bed, you can burn through a couple podcasts a day, and you always need more. So even with 30, 40 people that I'm subscribed to, I still check my feed and I'm like, oh, there's nothing new. I gotta wait until Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
I know the feeling.
I think it's great that people are making content. And then in this stage of things, when it's really realistically going to be your friends, your parents, people that that are listening to this stuff, it's almost even more fun at that point, because if they listen to podcasts, they can listen to Mark Maron, they can listen to Joe Rogan, but they can also listen to their friend, just their homie, and it's really fun to do that. So
I mean, like, I'd love like following people that are like smaller. I mean, most people that I'm following and that I call small are bigger than me, but I love following them because then you get to see their journey. It's like, oh, they started off with like 10 followers and they're talking to like 2 people, including me, and now it's like, oh, I'm part of the 5,000 monthly listeners kind of thing. You know, that's cool to me, and I'd love for it to happen. Whether it does or not, we'll see. But
it's the underdog scenario, because it makes the people that were there from the beginning just like number one, like, super fans, because it's like, because there's so many kids that were with Tyler since Bastard, Goblin, even Wolf, that it just ride or die for him, because it's like he talks about the perils of fame, missing his dad, all sorts of stuff, like, through his music, and we feel like we know him. Same with Drake, like, I was 13 when he was started to be really on the radio in our city, but when you get to extrapolate the information and understand the context of what Drake really is, you can be like, Drake, it's 2020. He's the biggest artist. I don't feel bad for him when he writes a sad song. Yeah. But if you understand the context of it, you listen to the old, the old mixtapes, and you really root for him. I've been explaining it like this because ever since he did the Rap Radar podcast, he just goes like, why shouldn't I be happy for myself? Like, I'm a Jewish kid from Canada, from Toronto. I'm light skinned. Like, I signed to Wayne. Like, no one thought I could do shit. Like, and now I'm the biggest artist in the world. Like, it is the underdog story. Even sometimes the underdog becomes the top dog, and you forget that it was the underdog. But like, I think if people can find it in them, I'm promoting Drake more than I am my own album on this fucking podcast. But I feel
Yeah,
like
I mean, you know,
it applies to anything. If you can put a bit
it
of
does.
critical thinking into your consumption of music, and you can almost find a reason to like a song even better
Oh
because of
yeah,
this. Like Blonde. Like a lot of people like Blonde by Frank Ocean. But when you understand the
yeah,
story of he actually released 2 albums, one to get out of his deal with Def Jam and the other
mm,
to be on his own independent label. And he
yep,
released them, I don't know, like 3 days from each other or whatever.
yep,
And Endless is also a really good album that people should check out. But that's the deal breaker with Def Jam. Like, okay,
yeah,
I did 2 albums, and now this is my Blonded label. This is my Boys Don't Cry label, and this is the first album off it. And when you hear that story, it's just it makes the album almost better, and it just makes him seem like a genius in terms of a businessman. You know, you
yeah,
understand that he had pop-up shops all over the world with these magazines that he gave out for free. You know, someone just
yeah,
getting into Frank Ocean, they might not know about that. But when you can understand the context and the feeling behind things, you could even like the music more. And man, you're gonna hear Drake songs until the day you die. Anyways,
oh yeah.
you might want to invest in some mental clarity and find a way to like him, because yeah, people are gonna be fucking
Yeah.
2C sliding all summer. So
Oh my goodness.
so you should be like, oh yeah. I mean, people have the thought like, yo, he made a TikTok dance just to get viral. I'm like,
Yeah.
Drake does not have to make a TikTok dance to get
Oh yeah.
viral.
No, no, no.
He did this to show. Well, I guess the story behind it is that there's these dudes that dance that he knows, like they're like famous dance guys on the internet.
Yeah.
So he wrote the song without a dance to it and just sent them the leak, and then
Yeah.
had them make a dance. So they were like, when the song dropped or the song leaked, they were the first ones that created the dance, and now all of a sudden they have
Yeah.
a viral dance hit that, like, you know, is attributed to them. So he really put the homies on. And when you understand that story, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. He didn't just make a dumb little 2-step just to get viral. He understood the market. He realized that
Yeah.
TikTok was a thing, and he literally just said 2 lines in a song, gave it to some dance dudes, and now that song is way bigger than it probably ever would have been. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the beat's
Yeah.
fire. I love the beat so much. I did a
Yeah.
remix to it actually. I don't know if I'll ever drop it on anything, but I did this remix. I wanted to rap like Drake because I think his people can say what they want about the ghostwriting and stuff, but
Yeah.
this man just says the craziest shit.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
just his penmanship, whether it's his or not, man, I don't care. He's a pop artist. Like no one
Yeah.
writes. You think Beyonce and Rihanna write their own shit? Like no.
No.
But he's just a force, and I wanted to like take tips from his writing, so I took the 2Z Slide beat and I made like a little remix to it. But I might drop it
awesome.
on YouTube or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll stop. I'll shut the fuck up about Drake. Because there's probably people that don't like him and have a reason to, and then I just tell them this. But it's a general thing. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, if you can find more things to like in life, I'm pretty sure life gets like a little bit
Yeah.
happier for you. Because at this point, if something drops and I don't like it, I see it as a bummer. Like I see it not as a problem
Yeah.
with me, because you can have your own taste, but I go, damn, fuck, I wish I liked that as much as
Yeah.
other people like it. That would be
Exactly.
so fun. It'd be so fun if
Yeah.
I could just 2C slide forever and I would never stop, and it's just like, yeah, this is sick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
guess
think it's just
gotta-
the energy of it. It's just
yeah. Yeah, because I look at life as like a scavenger hunt, you know? Like if you say, oh, I hate this artist, you're kind of crossing that off of the giant scavenger hunt list of things that you could enjoy. And when you open
Yeah.
yourself up to stuff, like I think of that with food, I think about that with music genres, I think about that with friends, activities, all sorts of stuff. Because if you have a preconceived notion of why you should close yourself off to something, then now you're just living in a world with a bunch of closed off doors and closed off opportunities. So
Yeah.
yeah, and there's always room to grow, you know? Like there's songs that I hated like when they first dropped, and then
Yeah.
now I love them because their impact, or maybe their lack of impact. I go, hey, I hated that song, but you know, every it was pretty good. People should have listened to it more. Like the one that comes to mind is 5 Star by ASAP Rocky. I hated it so much before testing, but now with the context of testing, I see it as like a little blueprint, a little experiment of a song, and the fact that no one talks about it, but it has like some of the catchiest flows and lyrics and beats out of like any ASAP Rocky song. That's what I like to go back and listen to. But yeah. That's enough Drake. Awesome. That's enough for Drake for one podcast. Maybe we'll just start the Drake cast.
Drake cast. Oh boy, I'm sure that is a thing already.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, getting around an hour 26. Man, we just went on for another half an hour. Just
yeah. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's long, but also like people are putting on a podcast just so they don't have to like search through music. So
yeah,
if we got to
I'm not complaining about the length. I'm just saying like we were just talking about we just went for an hour and then boom, 27 minutes already gone.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome.
I think a lot of people are confused. They don't think they could talk for an hour and a half without pauses, but get like me. Get like me, sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's nice to have someone that can just talk and is not like there's a lot of people that get super like mic shy with it.
Yeah.
I used to be very mic shy. I mean, if you listen to the first episode of the podcast, you'll definitely hear that. But that's just making videos and recording things and things like that. You got to start somewhere. Like you're gonna have first podcasts that are like barely 30 minutes and you're stumbling over stuff. But then guess what? Maybe in like I say, it's like you're not gonna have anything good until you do it 100 times. Yeah. So
and then you get into the flow of it, and then you understand like how to do it without even thinking. So that's really nice. Yeah, I just have a lot on my mind. I have a lot to express, and I don't have a podcast of my own currently. I don't make YouTube videos, and I see this as like the fact that you invited me on here. You're sharing your platform with me to where people who already know me, they can come and get this type of content that they wouldn't have gotten in a song or in a video or in an Instagram post. So I thank you for that, and I think this is a great endeavor. I think everyone should start a podcast if they have something to say or someone they want to talk to.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm Drewsiko.
Thanks for coming on for sure.
Yeah, I just gotta say that
I need a lot more guests. So.
Word. I mean, I'll toss you some people because I know a lot of artists that are trying to kind of do the same thing, just a different way to promote stuff. I feel so gross shoving it down everyone's throats. Like people that I already know, like, oh yeah, my Instagram story, hey, Cujo's out, blah blah blah. I don't like doing that, but hopefully the bulk of people that listen to this don't know anything about me, and they're just followers of you. So if you think I made a little bit of sense about Drake, not about Drake, throughout the course of this, and you're curious to see if my music is trash or not, based on what I said, or if it just sounds like a bunch of Drake stuff, which I promise you it doesn't. Listen to Cujo. It's out May 22nd if you're listening to this currently when it drops, or in the future. I'm always probably gonna go by Drewsiko, and I'm always probably gonna be making some shit. So you can find me. Just look it up.
Yeah. Are you are they the same name on most platforms?
Yeah, like everything. Like you can even just look up Drewsiko, like spelled like Siko. Just like on YouTube, I think, or on Google, you'll find like my Instagram and my everything. I'm gonna make like a site soon, but I'm more into making like a collective label production company site than I am making like a personal like, hey, it's me, Drewsiko. Like I'm kind of getting tired of that. And when we were talking about in the beginning, I like working for other people and making other ideas happen. So Instagram. I deleted Twitter because coronavirus, everyone was just making the same jokes. So I straight up deactivated, deleted my account forever. Maybe a website. Shouts out Colorize. I'm on their website as like that's my portfolio. That's Brandon Jobson and Cordell Joma and Conch and all those guys. Shouts out Productive Honey. A lot of people know me from that, even though they think I'm in Productive Honey, but I'm not. Yet I don't know. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Brad is one of my good friends. All the dudes in there, Gab, Sai, and Wackavelli.
Yeah.
Shouts out the homies. Shouts out Chantel. I was talking about earlier. She shot all the videos for Cujo.
Okay. That's awesome.
She's sick. We're trying to get a bunch of photography stuff going on. So if you live in Edmonton, hit me up, hit up Chantel if you want to get photos taken. And always DM me. Like all these people, like if you found me through a podcast and you listen to my music and you liked it, like the best thing you could do is just DM me and say, "Oh, I found you through this podcast. I listened to this song and then I liked
Yeah.
it." And that does so much for me, just confidence wise, and
Yeah.
also understanding, how I should be doing things. Because, if that works and people send me a lot of those messages, then yeah, I'll be on podcasts, maybe make my own. Who knows? Like, that helps out
Yeah.
a lot. And you don't, like,
Yeah.
sometimes you see an artist as a static thing. Like, oh,
Mm.
yeah, they don't need anyone's help or any engagement. Or, like, they just do. But as a bedroom self, independent artist, sometimes the only feedback that you get if a song is good or not is the Spotify stats. And if those are
Yeah.
lackluster compared to what you thought you were going to get, and you don't get the
Yeah.
DM saying, "Oh, I like this song. This is my favorite part,"
Yeah.
then it might,
Yeah.
it makes people quit music. So,
It's so demotivating sometimes.
yeah, the same way that I find it as a benefit, the fact that no one listens to me, and I can do whatever I want, it's also a benefit for like potential fans, for lack of a better term, to where they can hit me up and DM, and I'll just instantly respond for the time
Yeah.
being until that becomes not feasible. And just a word of advice: if you find an artist that has like a low key, like not that many views, and you find their Instagram, and if they have even 50K, anything under
Mm.
50K, I promise you can DM them. And if you ask them
Oh,
a
yeah.
question, like not like I like your music, but like, hey man, I like this, like, and have an actual question about it.
Yeah.
People like talking about themselves. I mean, listen to me on this podcast. That's all I fucking talked about.
I thought you talk about Drake.
Yeah, I talk about Drake a lot, but that's only because I want to be Drake one day. Like, I want to set the stage. Like, hey guys, don't hate on Drake. I'm gonna be the new Drake.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ask them a question or something that engages with them, they will respond, and it's a whole different feeling, because then you listen to that artist's work and you have a conversation, you have a dialogue with them, and they start to feel like a real person rather than just a song
Yeah.
in your headphones. You're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that guy's actually really sick. Like, yeah, I know him
Yeah.
and shit. So yeah, shouts out to you, podcast viewer. Thanks for supporting local independent shit. If you want to do more
Yeah.
of that, I make local independent music, and peep that.
All right. Awesome.